All right. Just want to start by saying just thoughts and prayers continue with Mike Hart, and it's good to hear that he's doing better. But continue to pray for him, and special guy that means a lot to our program. Proud of our guys' fight. Obviously didn't finish. Had some guys out, and guys stepped up, but got to continue to focus on. Build off the things that we're doing well and continue to focus on the things that we got to improve to finish the way we need to finish. Really appreciate our crowd. Thought they were awesome. Really appreciate our student section. They've been great all year. Noon kickoffs doesn't faze them, and appreciate that. It's huge for our team and means a lot, so I really appreciate that. Just an update on some of the injuries. Cam Jones will be out for several weeks, and A.J. Barner week to week. Jalen Williams week to week. Javon Swinton is hopefully a game time decision this week. DJ Matthews as well being a game time decision this week. So hope to get some guys back. Just working really hard to be able to get as healthy as we possibly can each week. Proud of our scouts. Don't ever want to forget to mention those guys each week. Vincent Sneed was the defensive scout team player of the week. Very talented freshman that's going to be a really good player for us here. And Carter Smith and Declan McMahon, offensive scout team players of the week, just giving great effort to us and helping us get prepared every time we take the field. And then Cam Jordan, the special teams scout team player of the week. So really appreciate those guys and the effort that they've given us and consistently give us. Also want to congratulate the Hall of Fame class that's going to be inducted this weekend, and special congratulations to Don Fisher as a part of that. And so appreciate all that he represents about our program and in IU athletics has just been amazing. So opportunity this week to play a very good football team in Maryland. Coach Loxley's done a great job there. Continues to build that team. Very talented football team. They'll be coming here to Bloomington for our 3:30 kickoff. So they have a lot of playmakers on offense and throw the ball well, run the ball effectively. Defense plays hard. Really good specialists and really talented football team. Also, as we've put out a statement, have made a change at the offensive line position coaching, and Rod Carey will be our new offensive line coach for the remainder of the season, and you'll have a chance to talk to him here this afternoon. So I appreciate you guys being here. Ready for questions.
Tom, sorry, covering a lot of ground in a short time. Number one, kind of what is Coach Carey's sort of official title, like for now anyway? And number two, what was the evaluation process that you went through that led you to determine A, that a change needed to be made, and B, that Coach Carey was kind of the right person to step into that void?
Yeah, just, as we said, weekly evaluation, just, there's a standard that we play with and want to play with, and I didn't think we were playing to that standard on the offensive line and wanted to see improvement and did not see it to the degree that we needed, and so I felt like a change was necessary. So just going through and, having Rod here with us, that wasn't the plan when he came here, was for this to happen, to be honest with you, and he knows that, and we talked about that. But to have a guy of his experience as an FBS head coach for 10 years, and he's really an offensive line guy. That's what the position he played here, and that's where his eyes go. That's what he does. He's been offensive coordinator, obviously, as I mentioned, head coach. So just, the chance to have someone that was right here with us on a consistent basis in our staff meetings, around our players, to be able to utilize that was a very positive thing without question. And he loves Indiana, and believes in what we're doing, and so excited to have him in that role. And he'll be the offensive line coach and the run game coordinator.
I wanted to go back a little bit to the question I asked on Saturday about Darren. I guess when you had some of the one-on-one conversations with him in the offseason, were there things I guess you asked for in those conversations as far as process were concerned, as far as how you wanted him to coach the team or how you wanted the offensive line to operate, that he either didn't do or failed to meet, or was it just an issue of results, or was there anything in the process that you didn't like and you want to see change?
I think, we've stated, that we made a change, and obviously you have to, it's performance-based assessment, for your position groups, and that's what we tell our coaches, and it's accountability for the way they perform. And to me, it wasn't meeting the standard that we have to be able to be successful on game day in this conference. So when that doesn't happen and you don't get the results you want, then you make a change. And that's what we've done.
Hey, Coach, this season you've talked about playing a lot more guys on defense to try to create that added depth. Now that you're in a position without Cam and Jalen, how do you feel about that depth? And are there any guys that you think over the last couple of weeks have stepped up that you feel like are ready to now contribute bigger roles?
Well, it definitely was the focus, and we've stated that, and I'm glad we did. I thought that Bradley Jennings played extremely well. Made some mistakes, but I thought he played extremely well. He took his game to another level. I think even Aaron Casey, a year ago at this time, he wasn't playing much. And then when he did get a chance to play late in the year, didn't play very well. And so just the ability to fix that. Matt Holt, same thing, got a lot of valuable reps. I mean, he had some really big stops for us on Saturday. I think that was huge. Chris Keys, there was chances for him to step up. He played extremely well for us, which is huge. Philip Dunn is another true freshman that, by design, have intentionally getting him more involved. And same with Josh Sanguinetti. Those guys playing lots of reps. And even Brylo Lanier at corner, just intentionally playing those guys in the first several weeks of the season to make sure they're ready. And obviously, you don't know who's going to get injured, and you don't want anybody to get injured. But when it happens, you got to have that depth ready. And so I think it definitely showed up on Saturday, and those guys, it has to continue. Some guys were trying to get back, some guys will be back in a few more weeks, but at the same time, that's, you recruit guys, even Caden Turner, we brought him up this past week with the ones and the twos and got him some reps there. He's obviously a true freshman that just needs to be ready when called upon, So I think about that linebacker room because that's been hit by the loss of Cam, and then the cornerback room with Jalen's injury. And so those guys having a chance to get valuable reps the last several weeks, and that's got to continue, defensive line, the same thing, guys that rotate in there and just trying to continue to play a lot of guys and continue to be, I think even Monster, we had the conversation, he's able to not have to play as many snaps, and it helps him be able to finish stronger and play better throughout the course of the game.
Coach, what did you like that your team did against Michigan and in the first half of the season that you really have to expand on if you're going to have a more successful second half than you did in the first?
Yeah, I think that bottom line is that, even today we go through and you show, clips from the game and you see the defense flying around, getting some big stops, getting a huge takeaway in the red zone, score zone area. I feel like that the execution has continued to improve, but it's not where it needs to be. And I just think, you kind of go through and you say you play a team like, Michigan, and you have, you have one 50-yard run that was early in the game, and you have four guys around him, and we don't get him on the ground, and it should have been a minimal gain, but he's a great running back. Give him credit for his ability, but to finish those situations, and then you go the rest of the game, really played really good run defense the rest of the way, and so it's that consistency that we got to have. And I know we're trying to play a lot of guys. That's a challenge to be able to get all those guys on the same page, but when you see when the guys do it, and we showed a whole bunch of clips this morning with our guys that say, when we do these things the correct way, this is the result. And when we don't communicate or we don't execute, then we give up big plays because you're playing against teams and athletes that can make you pay in a hurry. So I just think you build off of the effort, which has been consistent. You build off of defensively, the tackling, offensively when we're in rhythm and our guys are moving the football. And we got in the score zone, obviously scored 2 touchdowns. One of them got called back controversially, and then you got a chance to get down there and score another field goal. And so you get a chance to get 17 points in the first half, and you feel a lot different, about how those drives finish, And so you see the guys, and it's played out. We played a really good Illinois defense week 1. They're number 1 in the nation right now in scoring defense, and so and did some really good things against them, especially there when we needed to. So you build off of what you have to what you've seen on film, you've seen your guys do. You fight through the injuries, you fight through the issues that you have with all that, and keep developing your players. And it's a long season. We're at the halfway point. We're not where we want to be right now in the way that we finished the last 2 games. But at the same time, you have to continue to build off the positives from the first half of the season, and you take those into the second half, because obviously the second half of the season is going to define how everything is determined. So a lot to build off of. I'm one that chooses to focus on the things that we've done well, build the confidence in that, and then correct the mistakes. And obviously that's going to be in multiple layers, a lot of things to all that, but that's the objective right now.
Tom, over here, with Cam Jones, obviously he can't play, but the leadership he's showing, especially on the sidelines, he seems very animated there. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, he and I met, when we found out he's going to be out for a little bit. That was really what our talk was about. First of all, we were making sure he was okay. I know how hard he's worked and how devastated he was. But then the next conversation was, okay, Cam, you're now in a different role, all right? As you're rehabbing, you're getting yourself healthy, you got to lead this team, and you got to do it from the sideline. I know that's harder to do than it is when you're playing, but you've earned the right to continue to speak. And so basically in practice, same thing. He still brings the guys up after we break them down. He gives them a charge before practice. A couple other guys have stepped up. Noah Pierre, I would say, would be one, and Bryant Fitzgerald would be two guys that verbally have stepped up during the week to do kind of fill that void on the field for Cam. But he understands that he's the captain of this football team, and he is our leader. And so that leadership does not stop just because he's not able to play right now. So I was really not surprised, but encouraged by his leadership that he showed on the sideline, and just when they come off the field, help him adjust. Matter of fact, he's taking notes during meetings. He knows the game plan. He's making sure that the guys are making the checks and adjustments, and it's because he cares, and he's a special player. He's a special person. And so I'm proud of him for that. It's easy. I've seen a lot of guys handle these injuries different ways. A lot of great players that can get a little bit, disconnected because they're not out there. That's not been the case with him. Like I said, he knows the game plan. He's involved. He's engaged. We took him to the hotel with us. That counts as a player. You can't just, you can only take so many guys, for even a home game because it's a conference game. And so we feel like he's that valuable to us. You take him in those numbers. Why? Because he affects the outcome of the game, even though he can't physically play, and since he's the captain. So been really, really proud of that. It was obviously his first opportunity this past weekend, and I expect that to continue.
Going back to the coaching change, how did you break this news to your players, and how have you seen them kind of process it over the last 24 or 36 hours or whatever it's been? And I guess as the dust settles on this in the short term, what are you looking for from those guys this week?
I told the offensive line in person on Sunday early afternoon, and wanted to tell them face to face, and there was a lot of emotions, and they love Coach Hiller. I love Coach Hiller. So, it's just, relationships with people, it matters. People matter, it's families. It's, I know everybody just throws stuff around and says things, and I get that, and I understand that's part of what we do, but there's people below all this. And our players were emotional, and there's connections, and they took it personal in a good way. You know what? They know it's about accountability and those guys stepping up, and I'm challenging them to be able to rise up as a group and to be able to play for each other. And to me, it's accountability of the whole offense. It's the whole team that embraces who we are and what we're all about, and the staffs that we have and the people we have as part of the staff. So, and then you go through and told the whole team today. I know they already, everything gets put out there, publicly, but talked about it as a whole group today, this morning in our team meeting. And but it's, something that the decision's been made, and Coach Carey's now in that role, and we're going to move forward. And the expectation is for those guys that play the standard that we know we got to play at to win Big Ten football games. So that's the objective, that's the expectation, and I'm excited for Coach Carey to be able to be in this role.
Coach, we spoke to Connor before you, and he said that the offense is really right there on the cusp of breaking out. He said that they're due. What are you seeing from the offense that's just preventing them from getting over that hump, and what do they need to do to essentially?
Yeah, and I don't disagree, and I see the evidence as well, but I also see that we gotta be able to play at a higher level in the second half, and be able to finish those drives. And to me, it's our kids practiced hard last week. They responded to the changes that we made with our structure, and we'll have some modifications this week as well. But to me, it's about core confidence in what we're doing. It is still, execution is paramount. You can't get away from that. You can't, be jumping off sides. You can't make mistakes. You get those drive killers against a team of the caliber of Michigan, and then you play in a road game a week ago, and you can't make those mistakes on the road, and with all that adversity that creates. And so, to me, it's about consistent execution. I'll keep saying it because it doesn't change. You can't go through and be effective on either side of the ball without doing the little things correctly. And so it's the whole group. It's everybody doing their job. And pass protection is not just the offensive line. It's a big part of it. There's no doubt. Big men lead the way in that area, but there are other things involved as well. And so it's our staff, it's our players, it's our quarterback, it's our receivers, it's our running backs. It's a part of all that, and everybody taking ownership of that as a group. And to me, they've shown what they can be, and they've shown what they can do, and the ability for us to get the ball in the end zone and move the ball down the field and get first downs and stay on the field as an offense, and then we see what happens when we don't, but that you just, you know what you need to do, and you make the adjustments you need to make, but at the end of the day, you got to stay the course, and you got to continue to fight and demand the little things that when it matters the most, we're going to be at our best, like we were early in the season. It finishes those two critical drives that we had to have. So that, to me, is what the expectation is and what we got to get to. And then I know our coaches feel that, and we're not going to be dissuaded by anything other than this is the goal, this is the objective, and we got to stay together, fight together, and get this thing fixed.
Tom, Maryland obviously has lost their last two ball games, but they are an improved football team based on everything we're seeing over those past year. Where do you see the biggest improvement in them, and what's your take on why they are such a good football team?
Yeah, I would say, we've obviously played them every year I've been here. I think every single time we've played them, it's come down to the final possession, whether it's here or there. Always have had a lot of athletes, always have had a lot of speed. One of the most athletic teams we play every year. That's never changed. It's still the case this year. I think the thing that sticks out to me is quarterback play, and I think that he's continued to get better and better. And he's a special quarterback. He played well last year in our game. He's played well this year. And that, to me, is the key, and that's a big part of it. They've had, like you said, the athleticism in the backfield and the receiver has always been elite. Every time we played them, always been guys who we were very, very conscious of and concerned about where they were on the field and how they were trying to get them the ball. Defensively, they've always played hard. They've always been big and athletic and can run, And so, but that, to me, if I had to pick one thing, would be that, is the play of their quarterback. And that's allowed them, I think, to be able to elevate their team and win some of those close games. I know they had a close one here this past weekend. So, but you play in this conference, that's what's going to happen. Games are going to come down to the final possession, and that's how games are decided. So, Coach Loxley, as I've said before, has done a really good job there and has recruited. There's a lot of talent in that area where they're located, and they know that, and they've tried hard to keep those guys home there, and it's made an impact.
Coach, you had mentioned Chris Keys. I know he had torn his ACL last season. Mm-hmm. I guess, how did you just see him deal with that? What has impressed you, I guess, just sort of how he's developed over his time here? Yeah,
he's a guy that we identified that felt like he's tall, he's very athletic. He's one of the most athletic players on our team in terms of just jumping and running and changing direction, and especially for his length. And was so disappointed he did have that injury a year ago, really set him back. Those injuries are really hard. The recovery process is very long and demanding and very, very trying mentally and physically. So there were ups and downs during that process. And even at the start of this year, I just always wanted more urgency out of Chris. And I tell you what, he's responded last week. And it's not like it just flips the switch and then all of a sudden he would start practicing better several weeks ago. And so you could kind of see the growth. And I even commented about, I said, Chris is really starting to play the way I expected him to. And then the way he played Saturday. In fact, I mentioned him in front of our whole team this morning. And I said, Chris, you're playing the way I believed you could play when we recruited you to come here. And so, but there's a confidence that creates. But it's doing little things daily. I think that's one thing he's had to really learn, to be very consistent in his life, and consistent in how he takes care of himself, consistent in how he mentally approaches everything. And he's a great kid. But the urgency, and now I'm starting to see it. And so now it's showing up. And I think, it's like anything else. Everybody wants to play, but are you willing to do little things it takes to play? And are you ready to be called upon when somebody in front of you goes down? And so he was ready, and then he performed really, really well against a lot of quality receivers. And so I thought that huge boost for our program. He needs to continue to do that. It's got to keep building off of that this week and continue to give us great depth there.
I guess going back to Coach Carey, and you've touched on this in a couple different ways, but did you know him before he came here, and whether you did, you didn't, just what is the relationship you two have developed in terms of working?
Actually, we did not. You know, we've talked about that even recently. You know, I knew who he was. We actually almost crossed paths, coaching wise, when Northern Illinois played Arkansas State in the bowl game back in, it would have been after the 2011 season. And I was at Arkansas State, but we had just gotten the job at Ole Miss. And so I went on with that staff to go take that job, and we didn't coach in the bowl game. So we went and watched the bowl game, and he was coaching on that staff. And so, but we never got a chance to coach against each other. So, but I knew who he was because he, you know, was one of our alumni and knows, more than anything, know some of his former teammates. And so one of them reached out to me about the opportunity for us to consider, you know, bringing him here as a QC, you know, with his situation there after he was at Temple. So that was really our first conversation, was when I picked up the phone and called him and talked about coming here. So just really more from his former teammates from here that I know well. They're the ones that got us connected. And but knew of him, always respected him. He's done a great job. Did an awesome job there at Northern Illinois, and then got the opportunity there at Temple. So just good ball coach, tough, you know, Mallory guy, you know, played offensive line, played center. He's smart, tough, dependable. And he's the kind of guy we're looking for, you know, and as players. And just really, I've enjoyed having him on our staff. I mean, he's actually been working with the defense predominantly, and he would do things for the offense from a QC perspective, but he would be with our staff a lot defensively and giving us the perspective from an offensive side of football and how, from a blocking scheme perspective, how we attack protections, just added all that to us, and just really enjoyed being with him. So that was really the connection, and really it was more about the fact that he was, you know, from here, was really the strong tie, and it drew him to want to come back and spend some time here. So it all kind of just worked out. Awesome. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day. Delio.